First up, we head to Orlando, Florida. The defendant is 39-year-old Jeremy DeWitt. He's been charged with impersonating a police officer. DeWitt runs a company that provides private security escorts during funeral processions.
I'll get the light before the bridge, you get the light after the bridge.
It's a legitimate business that DeWitt is authorized to operate.
Get to me, get to me, get to me.
What he's not authorized to do is direct traffic.
Go past me, go past me. Repo, take this intersection and keep this under control.
Weave through traffic at illegal speeds.
I just did 110 down this road.
Or, most notably, pull over.
Hey, pull over,
and confront drivers while dressed somewhat like a real officer.
What are you doing? What the does it look like I'm doing, dumb? Get the over before you find out.
Stop pretending you're a police officer.
Listen, I know what I'm allowed to do and what I'm not allowed to do. What you need to do is figure it the out before you start talking.
With such blatant behavior, the local media gets wind of what DeWitt is up to. Before long, he appears on the radar of the real police. And in 2019, after police observed him breaking traffic laws, he's arrested while working a funeral.
Who is this guy? Oh, that's Jeremy right there?
When officers questioned DeWitt about the registration of his motorcycle, which comes up as stolen, he becomes livid.
Sergeant, my vehicle's not stolen, Sergeant. I can tell you right now, everything's being videotaped on my body cam, Sergeant. Okay, you're I have the registration for the vehicle, Sergeant.
Officers search DeWitt and find an arsenal of police gear, including handcuffs, mace, and a baton.
Because the Honda was stolen, and we got the tag back from the Orange County Sheriff's Office, and then we registered it to that motorcycle.
But as DeWitt loudly attempts to explain the situation, officers have had enough.
You just chill. If it's an issue, we'll figure it out. But you screaming and yelling isn't going to change that. Well, just sit tight.
Okay.
DeWitt's charged with impersonating an officer and released on bond. But while out on bond, police get a warrant for DeWitt's own body camera and find a wealth of incriminating footage, including more pullovers.
Get the over!
And additional confrontations with drivers DeWitt considers interfering in his escorting a funeral procession.
Hi! How are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
You must have missed that it's 45 through there, and then you use the turning lane to cut through traffic.
Yep.
I understand you're in a nice car and everything, but let's be a little more mature the way you drive. Let's drive the right way then.
Are you a cop?
Don't worry about what I am, because I'm a state agent, so what you need to do is make sure you're doing the right thing, boy.
The driver pulls away. But it doesn't take too long for DeWitt to catch up.
Yeah.
That's real nice.
Yeah, I know.
Real professional.
The way you almost hit me, boy, is the way it's professional, bitch ass.
You're not a cop.
You want to fight?
Violating the rule, too.
How's that?
You're gonna act like you're stopping me.
I didn't pull you over. Did I make a traffic on you, boy? Come on, let's go, bitch.
DeWitt's arrested again and brought before the judge with 2 more charges of impersonating an officer.
You were arrested pursuant to a probable cause warrant for falsely impersonating an officer.
Once again, is released on bond.
About the new cases.
Turns out DeWitt has quite a history of playing cop. He was convicted of the same charge back in 2001. But DeWitt can't seem to stay out of trouble. And after multiple arrests for impersonating an officer, he's back in court again.
Your name, sir?
I'm sorry, Jeremy Charles DeWitt, Your Honor.
This time he's not here for being a fake police officer, but for failing to register a vehicle as a very real sex offender. In 2005, DeWitt was convicted of lewd or lascivious battery involving a victim between 12 and 15 years old.
Mr. DeWitt, you're here today because you're arrested on an arrest warrant for a sex offender violation, failing to register as required. You're also out on bond on 5 charges of falsely impersonating an officer.
The state is requesting his bonds be revoked on his prior cases, giving the new law violation, continued pattern of criminal activity, and he also poses a flight risk.
The prosecution again asks that his bond be revoked. But once again, DeWitt catches a break.
No, I'm going to leave the bonds in place.
As for his remaining impersonation charges, until his trial begins, DeWitt remains free on bond. Next, we're in Franklin County, Ohio, for the sentencing of 26-year-old Casey Donovan Williams. Williams has pled guilty to attempted improper handling of a firearm in a motor vehicle. 6 months earlier, Whitehall, Ohio police responded to a report of someone impersonating a peace officer at a roadside utility company work site. They found an unmarked police-style vehicle with emergency lights. Williams was wearing a safety vest that said police, with a badge around his neck and a loaded handgun on his belt.
Hi there.
Hey.
So, you're an actual Cleveland police officer?
No, I'm not with Cleveland PD. I work for Cleveland Watchmen. We're a security company that hires only off-duty police officers to do traffic control for...
Are you an off-duty police officer?
Yeah.
So, who are you with?
Pickaway Sheriff's Office.
Pickaway?
Yeah.
All right. Are you full-time over in Pickaway?
I live in Pickaway, so...
74-105.
So I left the sheriff's office there. I'm going to, I was full-time there. I left full-time as a jail up there.
So you're not even a police officer? What was that badge you were displaying earlier?
That's my old Pickaway one.
So you have a Pickaway County badge, but you don't work for them?
It's a previous one from there, yeah.
All right. You have that with you currently?
Yeah, Flex badge.
Can I see that, please?
Yeah.
Williams goes from claiming he's an officer in nearby Pickaway County to admitting he used to work there, yet still has his badge. And there's something fishy about that badge.
Tell me what's wrong with it.
It's plastic.
Yeah, that's what he was displaying. And he's armed and everything.
Williams also claims he's about to get a commission as a village police officer in yet another county.
Have you ever been sworn in by them?
I spoke with the chief.
That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you one question. Are you a commissioned police officer through the state of Ohio?
I have an OPUDA certificate.
That's not what I'm asking.
That's not what we're asking you.
I'm explaining to you.
No, you're not. You're not answering the question. You're avoiding the question. It's very simple. Are you a sworn police officer anywhere in the state of Ohio with any department?
Not currently.
Okay.
The officers call local authorities to confirm he's not a sworn police officer and inform Williams they're detaining him.
I'm asking you for courtesy, man to man. Please do not ruin my career. Please, please, please.
I think you did that kind of on your own, Casey.
Please.
The Pickaway County, you knew you didn't work for Pickaway County. You displayed that badge, all right? You're out here acting in a law enforcement capacity, displaying a badge that you have no right to have, or a facsimile of a badge. That's not even a real badge.
Yeah.
You were aware of that,
yeah,
okay?
It's not real.
Okay, so you're going to be charged.
Oh, seriously?
Officers also find a taser on his belt and a loaded rifle and ballistic vest in the trunk of his car. Williams is arrested and charged with impersonating an officer and improper handling of a firearm in a motor vehicle, both felonies. He's in court today to accept a plea deal, which was offered for a surprising reason that the prosecutor explains to the judge.
Just so you understand what's going on, there is a question, even as we sit here today, whether under the law he is a peace officer. It appears that when he stopped his prior employment, they never decertified him.
It turns out Williams had worked for the Pickaway County Sheriff's Office, and when he resigned the previous year, he was never officially decommissioned. As a result of this technicality, Williams might still be a law enforcement officer, so the state has offered to drop the impersonating charge if he'll plead guilty to attempted improper handling of a firearm.
We had a big, long conversation about how to do this. The parties were in agreement that this was the best way to resolve it today.
Williams now faces a maximum 6-month jail sentence and/or a $1,000 fine. His attorney argues for leniency.
The big mistake Mr. Williams made that day was thinking he could kind of talk his way out of the very brief interaction that he was having that day. He was a stellar student in the academy.
The court has considered the seriousness of this crime and the likelihood of the defendant's recidivism. Accordingly, I'll order the defendant to serve 3 days in a local jail, credit him with 3 days already served, order the firearms, the Glock 19 and the Smith & Wesson rifle to be confiscated and destroyed. The court will waive fines and costs and consider the case closed.
Williams gets time served and has to give up his guns, but ends up with just a misdemeanor conviction on his record. Next, we go to a sentencing in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The defendant is 18-year-old Brendan Wazinski, who's charged with impersonating a sheriff's deputy. 6 months earlier, Wazinski was driving an unmarked car with a police siren when he pulled over a driver for speeding. Albuquerque police officer Danny Anzo came upon the scene and, thinking something off about the situation, decided to check it out.
You gotta talk to her for a minute. Who do you work for?
Early Country Office.
Oh, okay.
I know, I'm under-equipped.
Okay, do you have an ID with you?
I mean, this is all I got. I mean, like I said, I'm under-equipped. I was just heading over there to the courthouse.
To the courthouse for what?
To get my crap.
Okay.
The wannabe cop sticks to his story.
I know, it makes no sense. I caught him going 120 down I-40.
The officer has Wazinski hang around while he checks on his story.
Sam 110 down PD.
While he waits for a response, Anzo casually chats with Wazinski. One officer to sort of another.
And I'm not here to mess with you, man. It's just the thing is, yeah, he was speeding, dude. You could have called it in. And, because if you get into shooting, you're speeding.
Right.
All right, man.
I understand.
Right.
This, for starters, I know this looks really bad.
Right.
This looks really bad. This screams whacker.
Right. How long you been on?
About 3 years.
Okay. I've been on for like 13 years. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but you need to be a little bit more careful, all right?
Yes, sir.
So just do me a favor, hang tight for a second, okay?
Yes, sir.
It sounds like the officer might be letting him go. Not so fast. Anzo requests a supervisor from the Bernalillo Sheriff's Office to come down to the scene. In the meantime, he puts Wazinski in the back of his cruiser.
Do you have anything on you, man? Any weapons or anything? Okay.
Wallet.
That's fine. Just have a seat, all right?
All right.
It looks like this bizarre game of good cop, fake cop may be coming to an end. So Wazinski comes clean.
Can I talk real quick?
Yeah, give me 1 second. What's up, man?
All right. I'm just going to be straight up honest with you. I'm not a cop.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just going to be.
Where'd you get that badge from?
I bought it offline.
Okay. Do me a favor, stay in here, okay, for a second.
After discussing the strange situation with his sergeant, Anzo makes the next move.
Back in my car. Hey, Brendan, step out of the vehicle for a second, man. Okay, face the vehicle. At this point right now, you are being under arrest. You understand? Okay.
Before heading downtown, Wazinski sheds a few tears in the back seat.
So I need you to lean back a little bit. Thank you.
Can I please help my wife?
I'll give you, when we get to the substation, we'll give you a call, okay?
Wazinski's formally charged with impersonating an officer, a misdemeanor, and a second officer takes him off to jail.
Yeah, buddy. Can't be pretending to be a cop.
Yeah, I know, I'm stupid.
Lesson learned, right?
As they head downtown, the reality of the situation kicks in for this counterfeit cop.
It's one hell of a thought to know that in about 2 minutes I f***ed my life pretty damn good.
Now, as he stands before a very real judge, instead of fighting the charge, Wazinski pleads no contest. He's sentenced to 1 year of probation. The judge also rules he can't carry any firearms or handcuffs and must undergo a psychiatric evaluation.
Because I do not want any kind of reoffense on this kind of case. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. But this sham sheriff story doesn't end there. Wazinski violates his probation by failing to get that psych evaluation. But he gets a break when the judge gives him an extra 2 weeks to complete the evaluation. When told of his extension, Wazinski presses his luck.
I can try the best I can, Your Honor. I mean, I have honestly a lot going on right now, and it's stressful, but I will try my hardest to get it done.
Okay, so just to let you know, we all have a lot going on, and it is very stressful for everyone, but this is very important, and I'm not going to give you longer than that.
Wazinski did eventually complete his evaluation and was able to avoid jail time. And hopefully his days of impersonating an officer are over.
This looks really bad. This screams whacker.
As for the driver Wazinski pulled over, he was, of course, free to go. Next, we're in Orange County, Florida, where the defendant is making his second appearance here on court cam.
Jeremy DeWitt. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
41-year-old Jeremy DeWitt is charged with carrying a concealed weapon. The Orange County Sheriff's Office is very familiar with DeWitt.
Oh, God, not him again. It's Jeremy.
Since DeWitt's been arrested several times in the past and convicted once for impersonating a police officer.
What are you doing? What the f*** does it look like I'm doing, dumb? Get the f*** over before you find out.
Stop pretending you're a police officer.
DeWitt runs a security company that provides escort service during funeral processions. But he has a long history of using this business to drive recklessly through traffic. Block intersections.
Go past me! Go past me!
And confront other drivers when he believes they're disrupting his services.
Hey! Pull over! Pull over!
Police eventually caught up with DeWitt, and he was charged in 2 different counties with impersonating an officer and failing to register as a sex offender. He was released on bond. And that's when police catch up with him again, 10 months later. A deputy stops him along with one of his employees when he sees DeWitt carrying what appears to be a firearm.
Don't reach for that firearm. Walk away from your bike. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Go down to your knees. Do not reach for that firearm. You're being secure because you're openly carrying a firearm. What? You're openly carrying a firearm.
It's illegal to openly carry a firearm in Florida, and after he's placed in cuffs, the deputy tries to remove DeWitt's helmet, which the faux police officer does not appreciate.
What are you yanking my helmet off? I'm trying to identify you because I can't see you. You're trying to identify me?
When DeWitt learns why he's being arrested, he goes ballistic.
Carrying a pepper ball, you already know that. I do not know that. That is a firearm. That is a firearm right now. All right, Jeremy, you're being arrested for carrying a concealed weapon. Concealed? It was in plain view. That's not plain view. That's concealed. That holster's concealed. What are you talking about?
DeWitt is furious with police, and there seems to be only one thing on his mind.
Give me a lieutenant. Give me a lieutenant. It was in plain view. It's in plain view. Give me a lieutenant. Sit down. Sit down and be quiet. Where's the lieutenant? Where's the lieutenant? Where's the lieutenant?
But the real police don't take kindly to his demands.
Give me a lieutenant. This is not right. Are you listening to me? Are you listening to me? I'm a deputy. I'm not an officer. You don't tell me what to do. I understand. Stop yelling at me, and I'm going to stop yelling at you. Do not yell. Do not raise your voice at me. Yes, sir. Do you understand? I understand. You've already asked the sergeant for a lieutenant. You don't get to pick and choose who comes to the traffic stop.
DeWitt's taken to the station and officially charged with carrying a concealed weapon. But when it's later determined it was just an unloaded pepper ball gun.
This online identifies as a Glock, basically a Glock replica. Can you show me on here anywhere, I mean, I don't know why you'd have a light on a less lethal, but can you show me anywhere on here where it gives anybody the idea that this is not a firearm, that it's a less lethal?
I can't answer that. I don't make those. But you know they're less lethal.
No, I'm asking. If I saw this, I wouldn't know that.
That's where you're from. But you can save that for somebody else.
Okay.
How's it going, sir?
Good, how are you?
The charges are dropped.
Wherever you want to go. Do you need a ride? Where can I take you?
Isn't it amazing how nice you guys are when you screw up? Thank you. Let's go. Come on.
But DeWitt's far from being out of the woods. Because of this recent arrest, his current bond is revoked. So DeWitt goes before the judge to clarify the situation.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I was on bond. They revoked my bond with a new charge, but that charge was dropped.
He has approximately 10 or 11 other cases that he's currently incarcerated.
Oh, you got a bunch of different cases that are keeping you.
Right.
DeWitt's eventually set free with his bond back in place, but will still stand trial for impersonating a police officer, and if found guilty, he could be looking at 5 years in prison.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good day.
Yep.
Thanks for being a fan of CourtCam. Subscribe to A&E to never miss a new video and catch full episodes on aetv.com.